All right, now I'd like to ask you a little bit about Bellator Mixed Martial Arts right now, who you've also worked with in the past on their reality show last year. And of course, the big news right now is that Bjorn Rebney has been replaced by your former boss, Strikeforce CEO Scott Coker. So I'd like to know what you think that Coker can accomplish with Bellator MMA that Bjorn was unable to in his time.
Well, I think Coker can just blow this thing up and make it bigger than big. He's got a multi-billion-dollar multimedia company behind him. He's got a platform already built. All he's got to do is kind of, recharge that brand and sort of, restructure the talent. And I think, the sky's the limit. Coker was the guy 10 years ago who got me off the beach. I was never going to fight anybody. And I was like, no, I'm done. And he came along and was like, look, you can do whatever you want to do. I trust you with your brand and with your thing. It's like, I'll plug you into this and give you a stage bigger than you've ever had. And that was the final sales pitch that got me aboard. If he can do that with Viacom, he's going to make these guys superstars, and it's going to make that brand go to the moon. And that's what I know is going to happen.
Yeah, I remember reading interviews in the past where Coker had said a lot of things about you, about how you had an amazing mind for promoting and self-promoting, and how great you would be to work with fighters to help them in that aspect. And I know you were doing that with Joe Warren a little bit. But I wanted to ask you a bigger picture. I mean, has Bellator discussed any positions for you within the company on the business side of Bellator?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about all kinds of stuff, but there's never been a role like that. When Glory came along, I was working with Glory and helping them launch their brand, and really felt like they needed the same thing for their talent. Something to get their talent across on social media, really brand direction and brand training. And we ended up going different directions, but I helped them get their brand on sites and stuff. I'm hoping that conversation comes up. There's still something that very much interests me. I want to see guys get that stage, wherever the stage is, and get to that place where they've worked their whole life, it's their moment to perform, and they've got every opportunity to do so, because that's when magic happens.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this also, since you are, you're known for being a very good self-promoter, very good businessman. What do you think is the missing element that Bellator needs to become the number one promotion and kind of just upheave UFC?
Well, Bellator got caught in the old, corporate kind of machine. In my opinion, they turned into kind of an ASL. It was this machine that didn't have, brand value or star value. And part of that was, they took the nice, slow, steady growth and moved up to networks and stuff. But, this is a star-driven sport. It's about the moment. And putting tournaments and putting these things in place that take away from the moment or make that moment harder to make were just crazy. But now that, I think the stage is there. And they're going to have to re-educate the culture. We're going to have to, Cobra's going to have to rebuild some stars and get those guys ready for that opportunity. But the opportunity is there, and I think it will continue to be there.
Now, you mentioned stars, and that's a perfect segue for what I want to ask you next, in fact. And that would be, who do you think is the current face of Bellator right now, if there is one? Who is the big star that Bellator has that could be the front man?
I think it's been Bjorn. I think that's been part of the problem. There hasn't been a guy who's, really taken that role. A few guys have taken the lead for a minute. But, they should stamp a guy and say, this is our talent guy. This is the guy, if you work hard enough, can beat that guy. And they've got plenty of guys to do it. So, I approached Bjorn about this years ago because I thought, this is a great brand to put for, but it looks like a corporate brand. And, we're a bunch of fighters in martial arts. They don't trust the big corporations. We want something wholesome and honest and close and, something we can trust into. And I picked them on, we need talent to speak for the brand. We need talent to promote. Because that's who we believe, not the suit. And it just, it fell on deaf ears at the time. But the culture's changing. With Coker aboard and their new direction, I just see the sky as the limit.
All right, so I guess a little bit more on that. I mean, of the current guys that are there, do you think it would be better to promote and push a newer face, like let's say maybe Pat Curran or Michael Chandler, or is it better to kind of promote one of the veterans like Rampage? Who do you think could actually step up to become that face of Bellator, or at least for the time being?
I think, your Chandler, I think all those guys, any one of those guys can step up. But here's the thing, and why the machine sometimes doesn't work. These guys are on their own, doing their own promotion, telling their own storyline, creating their own brand. These guys do everything themselves. Most of them aren't focused on that. They're focused on training. Somebody to say at that time. Being a good spokesman is like being a good commentator. You're prepared in the moment. You know what to say, and you know what the brand is about, and then you deliver. There's no training for that. So even if these guys wanted to deliver, it just wouldn't happen. Coker's going to use the method for Strikeforce. Use the big name talent to build up the next generation. The next generation needs to step up